Hi, everyone. Welcome into Primetime TV Show. I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Marville Kelly, and with me is my husband and co-host, Dennis Kelly. We're back in the saddle again here.
We're back again.
Yes, and I hope you enjoyed our archive shows. We had an HSN archive show, our Memory Lane show, and then the next one, I believe it was one of our Women Unscripted shows. We're having a blast with that.
You've been a busy gal.
I know. We are always busy. Well, you know what? I posted on Facebook today that we were going to do a show called The Kellys Unscripted, and that's pretty much what it is on a regular basis, but we have sort of an idea on what we're going to be talking about today, maybe even some things that we've never shared before, but seeing that we're kind of winding down 2015, getting ready to start the new year, we thought it might be fun to talk about goal setting, because I know you've been really big on goal setting.
Absolutely, and this is a good time of the year to figure out what you want to happen next year and the year after that and the year after that.
So how far in advance have you started your goal setting to reach a goal like at this point?
Well, it depends upon the goal. Of course, the bigger the goal, sometimes more time is needed. But the key thing is to set short range, medium range, and long range goals. The long range could be anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Short term, couple weeks, medium term, couple months. And that varies depending upon the goal.
So let me ask you something. If you have like a long-term goal, and let's say it's 5 years, so how do you back off from that and then build out and build up to it?
Well, you set your stage on the long-range goals, and the key thing basically is write your goals down. A goal that's not written is a goal that's probably never going to be achieved. There was research done with Yale University back in the 50s, and it was quite interesting, the results. They took the graduating class of Yale and asked how many had written goals. Only 3% of the entire graduating class of Yale had written goals. 20 years later, they came back with these graduates, and the 3% that had written goals had accomplished more than the 97% as far as income that didn't write their goals down.
Really?
3% actually had more income than 95% of the total class of Yale. And Harvard did similar research and came up with the same results.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And if you don't write a goal down, it's like if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Without writing a goal, it's like a ship without a rudder.
So what is it about writing down the goals versus just thinking about what those goals are?
Well, there's actually some magic, so to speak, that goes on that even to this day scientists can't explain the whole apparatus. But for example, Dennis Waitley, who is quite an author and worked with the astronauts and so on, he came up with some research that was done. I don't know where he got the research, but he is very creditable. Says when you set a goal and get passionate about that goal, 18 to 20 billion brain cells are activated in your brain, and they have only one objective, that's to make that goal. Excuse me. So the key with that, and as he has stated, the importance of that factor is being passionate, because without passion, the chance of making a goal are very minimal. In fact, usually what happens is when you don't have a passion for a positive goal, you'll develop the passion for a negative goal. In other words, negativity can be a passion too. Some people thrive on negativity. In other words, they feel good when they complain about not making a goal. They
that
feel
doesn't
good.
Make sense.
I know it doesn't make sense. They feel good when they lose because they are sort of sadomasochistic. They are punishing themselves. They don't feel they're worthy of the goal. So you have to get around all that stuff, so to speak. The way you get around that stuff is you form a goal that's positive. There are 5 steps to really making a goal positively. The step number 1 is decide what outcome you want. That's so important, and make it crystal clear what outcome you want. Some people set a goal, like I want a new Corvette, I want a new home. But just setting that goal and talking about it is not an outcome. You have to decide, for example, what you want to accomplish from that goal. And then number 2 is build up the necessary passion or desire. A goal without passion or desire is a goal that is not going to, and chances are 95% of the time you'll never make that goal. And how you make and get passionate about the goal, picture the goal is already made. See the goal that's already made. A goal made from the inside is 10 times more powerful than a goal on the outside. So what you want to do is when you picture that goal, you want to picture the benefits of making that goal, seeing like those benefits already been accomplished. For example, when I won my first world championship at Madison Square Garden back in 1977, I saw me winning that championship a year in advance. I competed in 1976, came in second because I got disqualified. I broke the guy's nose. It was an accident. So then I had a whole year to photograph in my mind that goal at Madison Square Garden a year later. I pictured the color of the trophy. I pictured and felt what I would feel like by winning that trophy, standing in the same boxing ring as Muhammad Ali was standing in when he won his major bouts. And just what it would feel like, and the color of the trophy, seeing them handing me that trophy with 20-some thousand people out there. And you know, it's funny, not only did I win the next year, but the same color trophy. It was a black trophy. I pictured a black onyx trophy in gold with gold figures on it. And sure enough, it was almost exactly like I promised myself in my mind. It was like, and I was passionate about that. I trained hard for the goal. So you have to, so point number 2 is I built up the necessary passion. Point number 3, I acted. I asked myself, what do I have to do to make this goal? And then I formulated a belief system, believing that I could, that I had the physical capabilities, mental capabilities, emotional capabilities, believing it would be a lot of hard work, believing it would be worth it, believing I could find the time. I had fortified myself with a tremendous amount of belief system. This is nothing new. The great, very successful entrepreneurs in this world, they use that system. You have to have a system. So the 5 secrets of accomplishing your goal are based within these 5 different things I'm telling you about now. So developing the necessary desire and passion is critical. And how you do that is seeing the goal already made. Wishing to make a goal, dreaming to make a goal doesn't do anything. You have to imagine that the goal is already made. Then point number 3 is act. Get off your butts. For example, I would do that, but I don't have the time. Stuff like that, you know, the buts. So you have to act. You have to get and use your passion and keep the passion there by acting. If you sit around wishing for the goal, the passion will soon die. It will actually decay itself, so to speak. So point number 3 is act. Point number 4 is see if it's working or not. And if it's not working, then go to point number 5, make some adjustments and changes. You know, insanity is where you keep doing the same thing over and over and expect change.
Boy, don't we all understand that? And sometimes we get sort of settled in with being maybe a little bit complacent or something. We just figure, oh, well, we'll just keep at this, and it'll, you know, and it'll change, and then it doesn't change, and then you go, why isn't this? What is going on here? And that's what you're talking about, is actually revisiting this whole picture of what you're trying to accomplish when it isn't being accomplished, and then readjust. In other words,
absolutely,
readjust your sails.
Recapitulate what you're doing.
I see.
And the interesting thing about setting a goal is that even though you may not reach the ultimate goal, every day that you're working towards the short range, medium range, is actually a day that you're working on the long range goal, because you can't get to the long range goal unless you meet the goals of the short and the medium range goal.
So are you referring to like taking some baby steps, you achieve the first little mini goal, and then keep going from there and never giving up?
Anything that you do that's working towards that goal is actually success, one step at a time. Everything that you're doing towards that goal is a success. In other words, you have to go after that goal like it was impossible to fail. I ask in my seminars, I ask my students or customers or participants in a seminar, what would you do if you knew it was impossible to fail? That you would succeed no matter what obstacles you ran into? What would you do? What goals would you choose if you actually knew it was impossible to fail? Well, I want to tell you this, those of you out there, that if you set a goal, get passionate about it. Decide what outcome you want, and then get passionate about it, act, and see if it's working or not, and keep going over that same philosophy, that same program. It would be impossible for you to not make that goal. The only reason that it would be impossible if you set the goal too far ahead of what you believe in. In other words, if you didn't believe that you could make that goal, no matter how much passion you build up, it would be very difficult to even build a passion if you didn't believe you could make that goal. You have to set that goal on the outer edge of your accomplishment. In other words, where it really tintillates the excitement because it's a difficult goal. A simple goal is not as let's put it this way, a simple, easily made goal doesn't have the rewards as a goal that is more difficult. For me to win a world championship in 1977 at Madison Square Garden was about as impossible a goal as anybody could imagine. Because, as I've said so many times in my seminars and remind people, I was a lousy athlete in high school, one of the worst athletes in history at Grafton High School. In fact, I caught my coach many times, several times, telling the other players, he making an excuse that he had, in other words, telling the other players that he had to play me because the excuse was that there wasn't enough players out for the sport because we're in a small school. So it really wasn't an excuse, that was actually the truth.
It's, I love hearing this because I always glean something every time you share this. We're going to be taking a break here in just a minute, but as I think back to envisioning us having our own TV show, I never set the goal at that time for a particular time, but I saw it happening, and here we are today with our own TV show. And so I wonder, and then I also did a vision board. Did you ever do the vision boards?
Oh, yeah.
The vision boards, those are a blast.
You
those
saw
are so
mine.
I know. And I did one of those too with one of my old little headshots that I put right in the center of a TV that I actually drew out and cut out myself. It's in our office with the little old-fashioned antennas coming out of it. And I had that in the center. I should have brought that in today to show that because it's fun because we accomplished that. We have just 1 minute, but we accomplished that together. And then in the upper corner, I had tango dancers. And of course, we know where that's all going and what I did with Dancing with the Local Stars. There was a few other things on there. So, it really comes down to seeing it, believing it, and developing that passion and the belief system to know that you can do it and take the action. So on that note, we're going to take a brief little time out. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the belief system and how sometimes, we get caught up and stuck in a belief system that is somebody else's, that isn't even ours. But we can change that. We're going to show you how to do that in just a few. We'll be right back.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back into Primetime TV Show. I'm your host, one of them, Barbara Marville Kelly. With me is my co-host and partner in just about everything we do, Dennis Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. So if you're just tuning in the first segment, we decided that because it's, towards the end of the year, it's always a great time to reflect back on the year, celebrate the holiday, whatever that holiday is for us. And for us, it's Christmas. And then kind of get ready for a new year. Because when we go to a new year, we want to set maybe some new little guidelines for ourselves for building those success blocks and things of that nature. But sometimes it's not always that easy to accomplish that. But if you can set some of those rules for yourself and really follow them and make them so that they're doable. I never do New Year's resolutions because it's too much stress. But what I will do is make some changes for myself, something that I can live with. Like, I don't ever want to give up pizza and that kind of thing. So, and you know that.
Yeah, I sure do.
But
the hard way.
Exactly. But we were actually talking about the belief system just before the break and how sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to get out of that thought process of somebody else's belief system. They believe that we should be doing this, or they believe we should be doing that. Could be friends, could be relatives, family members, your mom, your dad, right?
Right.
And I mean, look at you growing up as a kid, and you were being made fun of by your coach, your stepfather. And I mean, we all have stories to share, and sometimes I think it's from kind of like our generation. But so how does a person get away from that? I mean, did you stomp your feet in the floor and go, I'm really not like that. I really am a good athlete. Is that what you had to tell yourself, or what?
It was something similar to that. What I use is what we call a positive negative. In other words, I would actually use their voice in my head. I'll show them. I'll show my stepfather, told me I was a bum and never amount to anything. My coach saying I was one of the worst athletes in history of Grafton High School. So it was like I used that to drive me, even though deep inside, I knew there was something that could be accomplished because I wanted it so bad. But then I had that other paradigm in my life that, well, I'm nothing but a bum. I can't do anything right. Nothing I would do that would satisfy my stepfather. He owned a garage, a Willys dealership, and a Texaco station. And he had me working in the station there on the weekends rather than going out and doing some of the things kids do, at that age. And what was so sad is no matter what I did, I couldn't do it good enough for him. So that didn't help, beside my athleticism, which was questioned. So what I did is I used that positive negative, and then eventually I got to the point over a period of a number of years, I didn't need that anymore. I figured that's really not necessarily the right way to go. Why don't I just admit the fact that we have unlimited potential, that I've overcome these things, and what I'm going to use now is the very positive rather than the positive negative. Seeing what good can come out of what I'm doing, being able to share the knowledge with others, and so then eventually that voice of my coach, the voice of my stepfather, now I can laugh at it. Because I did accomplish those goals. The chance of me writing a book, which I did, and becoming an author of a book and getting it published, winning world titles in the martial arts, and those things were like a million miles away, so to speak. And so as a result, it was all basically because I built up a strong belief system eventually. Well, I did this, so I guess I can do that. The first thing that got me started was dancing. My girlfriend left me because I wouldn't dance. She ran off with a ballroom dance teacher. So my goal was to show him up. So I went and took dance lessons. I tried to get my mother to teach me to dance. She says, you'll never learn how to dance.
Boy, was she surprised, huh?
She was, my stepdad, one thing that my stepdad did well was he was a great dancer. Him and my mother won awards and so on. So I was like the black sheep of the family. So after having my girlfriend run off with a dance instructor, and part of the reason she said I couldn't dance, or wouldn't dance, couldn't dance, and so I went to a local dance studio, little dance studio called GG Dance Studio, and I walked in the door and I said, or I asked Gigi, I said, she was the owner, she was Canadian, national Canadian champion. She said, if you can walk in that door, I can teach you how to dance. Well, I wanted to believe that. And some part of me didn't, other part of me did. So I figured, what have I got to lose? So I went and spent 6 months taking lessons and practicing real hard. She even gave me the key to the studio so I could stay there at night, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, still practicing. So finally, when the big day came, when I really graduated in my first level of ballroom dancing, I went to the club, a little club in Fort Myers, Florida called The Rendezvous back then. They had a band that played cha-cha swing music. So there my ex-girlfriend was with her dance instructor up on the floor. So I got up and asked the best dancing female in the crowd for a dance. Of course, she remembered me from when I was in there, and she at first refused. She says, Kelly, I don't want to embarrass you, but I don't feel like dancing. I said, no, I can dance now. So I finally talked her into getting up and dancing. She could really do a good cha-cha too. So we got up, and that was my ex-girlfriend's favorite dance. That was the dance that sort of took her away from me. I can cliche to that. So I got up on the floor, and when she saw me up there dancing, you should have saw her jaw drop, her eyes got that big, and after the dance, she came on, where do I dance like that? She said, would you dance with me? Of course, back then I was a young man, didn't have much cool, so some of the things I said I shouldn't have said. But anyway, I didn't get up and dance with her. I figured that was it. So then, actually, from that point on, I got into martial arts. And one thing led to another, where then I finally got belief in my system, where I believed I could do anything, where there was nothing impossible. And nothing is impossible if you believe in it.
Mm-hmm. And you know, sometimes I think that if you have that, going back to that whole passion, can actually help you believe that you can do something.
Oh, absolutely. There's a pervasiveness with that. It goes from one area of your life to another. Mm-hmm. When you believe you can do something in sports, you can do something in your personal life.
Exactly. Because you know how passionate I am about dancing. My husband always says, I would rather dance than eat, and that is probably the whole truth of it. And, you know, when I was asked the first time to dance with the local stars, of course, you remember my response and how I was dancing around the house, just so delighted to be able to dance for charity. And I knew I could do it, but there was also that little voice in my head that was giving me the doubt. So I pushed it out of my head, and I just stayed with my passion for dance and for such a great cause, which really allowed me to achieve what I achieved. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. And because I've adopted and adapted as well so many of your coaching techniques and that mindset and the belief system, I was able to go beyond where I thought I would. Practice, 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 practice. I mean, even in my sleep at night, I'd be going through the dance steps over and over. Like you said, you have to ask yourself the question, what do I have to know? What do I have to believe in order to achieve this goal? So you go down the list, right?
That's right.
How hard?
That's the key.
It's really not that hard once you concept
First
it.
step is you have to believe nothing's impossible. Because the minute somebody says something is impossible, look at what happened with Roger Bannister, who broke the 4-minute mile, the first athlete to break the 4-minute mile. Everybody said it was impossible. He proved everybody different, and soon after he broke the 4-minute mile, 8 or 10 others broke it within a short period of time. What changed? Did the physical training change? No. The mindset changed. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, it's not so much what we know that's not right that hurts us. In other words, it's basically what we know that we think is right. And what we know has so much to do with our belief system, because the belief system is affected so much by other people. What you have to do is, I always call it, be the director of your movie. In other words, picture your life like a movie. And you can either be a participant in the movie, or you can be the director of your movie. Most people are a participant in their movie. They're not the director. Somebody else is directing their movie. Mm-hmm. So what you do is just get into your mind, into your heart and soul, decide what you want your life to be like, and then work towards it. That's where that goal setting comes in, writing those goals down, writing the short term, the medium range goals, the long term goals. And then one key factor, and I warn you out there, this is so important, before you finish a goal, always set another one, because one of the worst things you do is finish a goal especially it's an important goal, something to do with you physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if you don't set another goal, there's only one way you can go from there, and it's downhill. So the key thing is to keep setting goals, keep learning, because one thing that's important in life, that if you don't have a goal to succeed, you're actually, if you, let me use this cliche, if you stop the average person on the street and said, if you ask them, what is your goal for failure? They would look at you like you're crazy. Well, I don't have a goal for failure. Well, chances are they don't have a written goal. And then if you don't have a written goal, then you're planning to fail.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I've learned, and especially after coaching women, in groups of women, one thing that really worked for me, and I know we're getting ready to go for a commercial break, so I'll make this really fast, but I've asked women, and this is a really powerful question that I had to ask myself, and it goes back to what you've often said. If you knew it was impossible for you to fail, what would you do? What would your passion be? What would your goal be? And, it's true, and I took that and kind of spun it around, and I would ask these women, if you had everything in the world that you ever wanted or needed, a lot of money in the bank, that nice big house, your favorite car, or whatever, would you be doing what you're doing right now? Would you be doing the job that you're doing? Would you be living the life that you're living? And do you know that has become an epic statement in my coaching for women, because I watched it literally change lives with women doing a complete turnaround. And it's really interesting talking about the belief system according to somebody else's belief system. And I'm going to share this with you with one of our women unscripted from our shows, Maura Sweeney, because she lived that kind of life. I'm going to share that when we come back from our commercial break. But I'm glad that we're touching on these things because it gives us food for thought, and maybe some of you have heard us talk about this before, but there's always something else different that we kind of add to it because we're still learning. We don't have all the answers. Trust me. I still find myself getting on my nerves and sharing with my husband, and when I get the dad look from him, that's time for me to just give it up and quit overthinking something. But it's no different than the plumber with leaky pipes, whether you're a life coach or not. We still face different situations in life where we have to allow our heart to give us those answers, which comes pretty naturally for us right now. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to share that story of Maura Sweeney because it just might help you out there to set some new goals for the new year. So we'll be right back after this.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
And here we are back with Primetime TV Show. Hope you're gleaning a few little tidbits of what we're sharing with you. Barbara Marville Kelly, Dennis Kelly. I always love talking about this. I know we've talked about it before, but it's been a good little while. And there's nothing like giving ourselves a shot in the arm when it comes to motivation, inspiration, and living the best life that we possibly can. And it requires a little bit of work, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There isn't a free lunch in this life.
I know that story. Did you want to share that?
No, that's all right. I get that in another time. A little bit long.
Well, you know, the thing is that it is true. You've got to put some skin in the game in this thing called life. We certainly have trial and error, and we found what has been working for us. And I know during the break we were discussing briefly about the law of attraction and how that, too, plays an important part. And I really have to give credit to Rhonda Byrne, who did The Secret. And talking about, yes, we can have, do, or be anything we want, but there wasn't the formula. She didn't tell us how to do it. So we have to kind of figure it out all on our own, and that's what we've done. So tell me your take on the whole law of attraction.
Well, one of the things, it's sort of hard for some people to really comprehend, because in this Western society of ours, unless you can see it, taste it, smell it, it doesn't exist. You have to really, and this is where it really gets to be in sort of into the quantum physics world, but there's so much research to prove that this is a fact now, that when you have a thought and you keep that thought over a period of time, in other words, on a daily basis, after you've written down those goals, then you have this thought. And the thought, actually over a period of time, mixed with passion, starts vibrating. That, in other words, you have to look at thought as a thing. That's hard for people to look at thought as a thing. It becomes a real material thing after a certain period of passionate thought. So when you're thinking of a goal and you're passionate about that goal, that thought then becomes reality. It starts vibrating at the same vibration level as your thought. And that eventually materializes into a real creation from your basic thoughts. That's hard for people to comprehend. That is so powerful when you really think of how powerful our thoughts are mixed with passion. There's nothing that's impossible. And to really understand it, you have to go to the law of attraction. There are actually 4 laws of attraction. In her book, she speaks of 3 laws, but there's a 4th law. First law is the law of attraction. In other words, what you think about, you bring about. The key thing with that law is, unless you're aware of the second law, then this sort of runs amok, because their thinking a lot of times is negative. Because 77% of the population, according to the experts, are negative. They're negative thinkers. They don't set goals. The only goals they have are the short-range goals, and they're usually the wrong goals. They're not really goals. So the important thing about the law of attraction is what you can really benefit the first law is you have to know the second law, the law of deliberate creation. So in other words, if you don't know the first law, it's impossible to know the second law. And the first law without the second law is like a ship without a rudder. Unless you, like I say, understand the laws, you're going through life by somebody else directing your movie, so to speak.
So the law of deliberate creation, that's where we deliberately
once you're
take action.
Aware, that's it. Once you're aware of the law of acceptance, in other words, the law of creation, once you're aware of that law, then you can go to the second law, the law of deliberate creation. You can make your thoughts and your passion deliberate. In other words, what you want to happen in your life. And what you think about, you bring about. And when you add passion to it, you bring about it a lot quicker and more abundance and in a clearer and more concise manner, so to speak. That's the second law. Then the third law is the one that really sticks it to us sometimes. It's the hardest of the 4 laws. It's the law of allowing other people to be the way they want to be, even though they don't want you to be the way you want to be. And we're always in life trying to change people. One law that's important in the law of allowing, allow people to do what they do. Don't try to change them. I mean, you can give them advice and suggestions that might help them or so, but don't expect the change to come from you. That change has to come from them. You see, we spend so much time in business, especially, trying to improve the ones that are the losers rather than stick more time with the winners. You know, sometimes, no, when I ran my businesses, when I first got in business, I was always trying to motivate those that were the non-producers, spend more time with them, and allowing the producers to be on their own, and eventually you lose those producers because they go work somewhere else. Because they can only get so far based on how that company's doing, and if you're spending so much time with the losers, you're overlooking a lot of wonderful benefits from the winners.
To really take them to the next level.
Take them to the next level.
Exactly.
Give the losers a little advice, give them a book or two, teach them how to do what they need to do as best you can if they're your employee. But the important factor is you must come to realization when time, in other words, when you're spending time that's wasted time with that individual.
Absolutely. I totally get that, because if you have a motivated individual, they're a few more rungs up on the ladder as far as taking some advice and getting themselves to the next successful level. Whereas if you have somebody that's just sort of mamby-pamby, you know, I'm okay with what I'm doing. Yeah, you're right. You've got to work extra hard to motivate and inspire those people.
Well, I would rather have a kid out of high school working for me that's on fire, that's got a great attitude, and have a college graduate that thinks he knows everything and has that lousy attitude. There is that pyramid of attitude that I like to bring out in that. And there's research that 27% of the population are negators. 27% are negators. They walk around with their umbilical cord ready to zap you, so to speak. You know, they put a pin in your balloon when you're all excited about something. They all stick a pin in your balloon. When you're down in the dumps, they want to come and hug you, so that they actually allow. In other words, you're allowing them to get into your life. They want to take control of your life, so to speak. Then 60% of the population are waiters. They can't wait for their
5 o'clock to come around.
5 o'clock to come. They can't wait for summer vacation or whatever. They can't. In other words, they wait for things to come to them.
Sure.
And they usually never get what they want, 99% of the time, because they don't know what they want.
Right.
Then you have the achievers. 10% of the population are achievers. They're the ones that the type A personality will bust their head through a wall to get through the other side. And they usually achieve success as far as financial success. But the achievers, they usually do not accomplish physical success. They do not accomplish good health because they go at all costs. They go straight forward. They don't take time to relax. They're the ones that are like a bull in a china shop. And it's unfortunate because they usually become successful monetarily, but they don't live long enough to enjoy it. Or they have so many physical problems from beating their head through the wall.
And the stress
Right.
of it all.
Then there is the 3%. The dreamers, the super achievers. These are the ones that take notes. They're constantly reading. In fact, one of the first things I learned in business is if you want to be a leader, be a reader. Very few leaders are not readers. If you want to be a leader, remember, be a reader. All readers are not leaders, but most of the leaders are readers.
Makes sense.
So the key thing is the 3%, they're the readers, the dreamers. The ones that really look at life as a great challenge, the ones that don't ever use the word problem, they rather use the word challenge. Life is an exciting challenge. They wake up in the morning, what exciting challenges am I going to have? They reach a state of imperturbability where nothing really can rattle their boat, nothing can rattle their cage, because they have such control of their life because of the things that they've done to reach that point, like writing, taking goals, being passionate about life, going to seminars, reading as many books as they can get their hands on, and surrounding themselves with other leaders rather than the losers.
Very good point. I have something that I don't have time right now to touch on, but one thing is I see you as a super achiever, but I also want to know when we come back from our break, what if somebody doesn't know how to actually find their passion? Is there something we can do to give ourselves those answers? Maybe you're in a job that is going nowhere, you're fed up, and maybe you're one of those waiters waiting for 5 o'clock to come around because you're not happy with what you're doing. And I think that it's something that as we reach out into a brand new year for 2016, if we can like send out a few little messages for people to kind of step back and just kind of look at their lives and see, are you fulfilling your passion? Because it's the passion clearly that we're trying to drive home is the message, is the passion. So we have just about a minute remaining, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about that. And I want to know your points, your secrets on what made you become a super achiever, because I don't know if it was always that way.
No, it certainly wasn't. I was really, how would I say it, a real sore loser in life.
One hot mess, right?
I hated everybody, I hated myself.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah.
That's a horrible feeling.
Oh, I know, it's terrible.
I don't think I ever really hated myself, but sometimes I had those moments of just hating the situation that I was in and wanting to get out of it and everything. So it takes a real super achiever, but to get to that point is what I want to know. How do we become a super achiever? How do we find our passion? How do we know that we are fulfilling our passion and living our dream? I know we are now, but it wasn't all that easy, and it's those stepping stones, the roadblocks, and overcoming all of that. So we're going to take that brief time out. When we come back, we have our last segment, more to share, saving the best for last. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now. I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Hi everyone, welcome back into Primetime TV Show. You know the reason why we named it Primetime TV Show was because we give it our prime time, don't we?
Absolutely.
Every time we are here, and we try to make it so that you learn a little something that maybe you didn't know before. But I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Marvel Kelly. With me is my husband, Dennis Kelly. I've been talking about goal setting and just being the best you can be and how to get there, really. And I had mentioned earlier about my friend Maura Sweeney, who has played a very important role in my life. She's one of our Women Unscripted on our Women Unscripted show that we do mainly the very last Monday of every month. We give you the day off, and us girls get together, and the show is unscripted. I have no idea where it's going to go, but it takes a life of its own on that particular day. So Maura Sweeney, we were talking about the belief system, and Maura was living by someone else's belief system that she was to go to school and become a lawyer. That wasn't her belief system. It was whoever's it was, whether it was her parents or whatever, but she stopped and she followed her dream earlier on in life because becoming a lawyer was not her dream. And now Maura is traveling all around the world following her passion and the goals that she set for herself as the ambassador of happiness. And I'll tell you, you've got to tune in to our show, because if you've heard anything that we've said today and it's resonated with you, kind of, sitting in there, kind of going, that makes a lot of sense. Tune in on the 28th of this month. I'm going to have Maura share that story with all of us again, because it is important for us to follow our dreams. Now, I want to ask you, just before the break, I said, okay, you are a super achiever, but were you always a super achiever?
Absolutely not. I fit close to the category of negator.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, it's a good thing I didn't know you back
Oh, you wouldn't have liked me. You wouldn't have liked me.
So,
you wouldn't have given me the time of day.
Probably not. Probably not. So how did you get out of that thinking pattern?
It was a step-by-step process. But what happened, by accident, it wasn't really by design. I ran into the proper mentors. It's so important.
Oh.
And my first one was, believe it or not, my dance instructor.
Yeah.
Because when I came into her, I was desperate. I wanted to prove myself. And I asked her, I said, you think you can make me a good dancer, just like the dancer that took my girlfriend away from me? She said, I'll have you dancing circles around here. Well, I don't know if she believed that or not. She probably told everybody that. But the important thing, I wanted to believe it. I wanted so much in my heart to be able to be somebody and do something other than what my life was. I didn't want my last 5 years to be like my next 5 years, or my next 5 years like my last 5 years. So she sent me to Dale Carnegie courses. She paid for me to go to every type of seminar I could go on success. In other words, she brainwashed me for success. She saw something in me I didn't see in me. So that's when I got into reading books and believing in myself. And then 3 years after my mother told me I could never learn how to dance, I'm now a dance instructor, which was great because I was working in construction. And after several months, Gigi was her name, she asked me if I would like to be a dance instructor. I was, wow, be a dance instructor. It's a lot better than pushing concrete, laying block, and and things like that, of that nature. So I was excited about it, and it just gave me a sense of well-being to be able to achieve something that was other than where I was in my life. And not that there's anything wrong with being a construction person. Certainly we need that, but that wasn't my cup of tea. And of course, it just added to the disillusionment of my character, because nothing I did in construction seemed to be right. So anyway, she was my first mentor. Then she sent me to different seminars, and I gained many mentors. But then my next really true mentor was my martial art instructor, my Korean instructor that told me inside of all of us as a world champion. And it's interesting, going back to the dancing, 3 years after my mother told me I couldn't dance, I won the Arthur Murray World Pro-Am Championship doing the tango. Now, who in the world would ever, especially myself, ever think I'd win a world championship dancing the tango, or any dance that goes as far as that goes? And it's even had still a little bit of disbelief in me, because my first thoughts were, well, I wouldn't have done this good. My partner was a better dancer than me. So that I had to get rid of those things. So even though I was at that point, I still had some work in progress. That's when my martial art instructor, I joined the martial arts, told me inside of all of us as a world champion, he says, you do what I tell you to do, you will win a world championship.
And you did.
I did exactly, because I had nothing to lose.
And there's so much truth to that, and now you're taking that quote and sharing it with your clients, our clients, and with all of you out there to really take that belief system to know that, you know, we can change that. And it's all by choice and design. We can make those changes in our lives.
Well, that's right. Gigi said to me, she said, do you want your last 5 years to be like, in other words, your next 5 years to be like your last 5 years? I said, heck no. She says, then do something about it. So read these books.
You know, I never heard you say that. Ever. In the 20 years we've been together, I've never heard it put quite that way. Are the next 5 years, you want the next 5 years to be like the last 5 years? I'm going to remember that. That is excellent.
And that sort of really struck a note with me. No, I don't want the next 5 years to be like the last 5 years. So she gave me a sense of hope.
Right.
A sense of, so that's why it's so important when you have people that look to you like being their mentor. Give them tough love. In other words, what she did with me, she saw something in me I didn't see, so I eventually saw it. And the fact that she told me, you either read these books, you don't work for me. She didn't say it in quiet, I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically what she didn't have to say it. I knew in her heart that she saw me as a work in progress, and she wanted to be part of that. Here's the sad part about it, though. Years later, when I had my own dance studios, I hired her. She came to work for me. I had to fire her.
Really?
Yeah, I'd fire her because she taught me, but she didn't follow the same principles. She had bad habits. I won't even get into what the bad habits
Wasn't
were.
walking the talk.
Big disappointment. The hardest thing I ever had to do in my life was let her go.
Oh, that is really, that is wild.
So she chose not to go that direction, that she chose me to go on. So that's why it's so important. Once you get on this direction, you can't just, how would I say, can't just rest on your laurels. What she did is she was resting on her successes, didn't set any future goals.
I see.
Then life became boring, then she went into the next step onto drugs and things like that.
Well, I tell you, there is so much that can be said about choices. We can all make choices. We can either make choices for the good or make choices for the bad, but you know what? We've all been in some situation or other that maybe we were, you know, maybe having like a slump or maybe having, you know, a little mini meltdown or maybe even a major meltdown. But you said one key four-letter word that is critical. It is of epic proportion to success, and that is hope. As long as your heart's sticking, you've got hope. No matter what's happening in the world around you, I don't care what it is. But as long as there's life, there's always going to be hope. And it's just a matter of going out and really seeking the answers. And like you said earlier on in the beginning of the show today, is going and finding mentors, hanging around with successful people, hearing what is it that caused them to be successful. I can't tell you how much I've learned from my husband in the last 20 years. And sometimes, you know, I have to face the music when he gives me this little bit of, you know, the dad look. And then all he needs to do is give me the dad look and a one-liner. And I'm done. I straighten right up and I'm okay. I'm good to go.
Well, another big point is people judge you by the people that you hang around with. So be very careful how you choose your friends, because that can make the road to success much harder if you have the wrong friends. Pick people that actually share your dreams, that will actually add to your benefit, to your success. Don't pick people where you spend your whole life trying to undo the damage that they do by trying to change or control your life.
Exactly. And you know, there's a lot to be said for that. I have a couple of women's groups that I hang out with, those kinds of women. I'm going to name them in case you're out there. My friend Helena Trengata and my friend Cher Kistler with Amazing Women, and then of course Maura Sweeney. And those three gals, whether it's one thing they said or many things they said or just the support that they are. And mwah, I love all you girls. And there's been a whole host of other women that have made an important part in my life. And you'll probably be seeing them coming on the show next year. We have a lot planned for next year. We're getting ready to wind down this whole hour. Can you believe it?
That's the fastest hour in the world.
I know. Well, why? Because we're living our passion. This is our passion, is each and every one of you that are out there in the viewing audience to hear even just a little bit of what we're sharing with you today as you springboard into the new year. Maybe you can glean some of this and take it along with you, because what our purpose and passion is to really make a difference in the lives of every single one of you out there today. So hopefully you've enjoyed what we've had to share. We will be back. Are you coming back on the next show, or am I giving you the day off again?
Well, depends upon what's going on at that time. By the way, one last thing.
Make it quick.
How quick?
Like, you're good. 10 seconds.
The best gift you can give your loved ones, the best gift you can give them is be a good example.
You know, that's so true.
That's what I want to end it with.
I'll give you a high five on that one,
All
brother.
right.
And thank you for joining us today on Primetime TV Show. And we will see you next Monday, live at 5, same time, same place. Have a beautiful week.